All right, here we are. We're going to talk about Module 8, responses to disturbances. So first thing is, what is a disturbance? Well, disturbance is anything that messes up an ecosystem in some way. On the screen, you see this picture, and this is Lituya Bay, Alaska, 1958. This is the world record tsunami occurred. Over here, you can kind of see how there's a little difference in the rock. That's because all this rock material hit a landslide, and that landslide triggered a tsunami that came up this wall, 1,700 feet, and then proceeded down the bay out to the ocean. So here, let me click on this next screen, and this is a map of it. Here was the rock slide, and it came up 1,720 feet up the bay wall, and you can see it was 200 feet tall over here, and 600 feet tall, and 400 feet tall, and then it got to be less and less and less as it goes down and out. Now you're thinking to yourself, wow, 1,700 feet of water. That's definitely going to leave a mark. Luckily, the fatalities, I think there was only 2 recorded fatalities because there's 2 fishermen in the bay at the time, and they're the only ones who died. But you can see that, all this yellow got hit with this tsunami. And going back here, what is a disturbance? An event that changes population size or composition. Here, we're focusing on the population of trees. Now, this picture is not in the immediate aftermath. This picture is taken years after the effect, in the fall. And why is that important? Well, you can see that you have some evergreens growing, and then you have this other thing. I believe these are aspen trees. And if you look carefully, you'll see that these trees are much taller than these trees. And you can see the same thing happening up the slope where the wave hit. This disturbance changed the population. It knocked down all the old growth trees, and now you have these other trees growing up. And it's a very visual thing that you can see because of this disturbance. Now, disturbances, they're actually rather common in nature. Think of all the forest fires out west. Those are a normal thing, and in some regards, they're actually beneficial at times. Resistance and resilience. So when you talk about disturbances, forest fires, volcanoes, hurricanes, and then man-made things, resistance is a measure of how much a disturbance can affect the flow of energy of matter. So if you wipe out all the trees, man, you definitely messed up the flow of matter. If you have a rock slide, if you have a hurricane knocks everything out on the island, you're going to have a lot of life changed because of that. Think of if the deer have nowhere else to live because a hurricane comes through, a tornado comes through, Resilience, the rate at which ecosystems return to their original state. Some ecosystems bounce right back. Tropical ecosystems, they tend to bounce right back. But like a desert, if something happened in a very arid area, it's not going to come back very quick. Or up in the tundra, it's not going to come back real quick. So now we talk about this. Restoration ecology. It's a new scientific discipline that's interested in restoring damaged ecosystems. So what if the event was an oil spill? Well, that's certainly going to mess up a lot of stuff in the immediate area of oil coverage. And, it's a whole thing of cleaning up that mess and helping things get back to normal. We want the ducks to be able to swim happily, for example. We need to study this thing called the intermediate disturbance hypothesis. It states that ecosystems experiencing intermediate levels of disturbances are more diverse than those with high or low levels of disturbance. So this bay here, odds are there's not frequent tsunamis, and that's why there's a bit of a monoculture of the pine trees up here, and there's a bit of a monoculture of the aspen trees down here. That's not necessarily good for ecosystem diversity. But forest fires, they happen periodically, and then the forest springs back within a couple years. You got trees and flowers and plants growing back, and animals are living there again. And so it happens in intermediately. Happens sometimes. If you never have disturbances, you don't necessarily have a lot of diversity in your ecosystem. If you have disturbances all the time, nothing can ever get established. That's like mowing your lawn. Believe it or not, if you didn't mow the lawn, eventually you'd have trees growing in it. They plant themselves, they grow. It's called succession. We'll talk about it later. But if you mow your lawn weekly, you're never going to get trees growing in the lawn. You are constantly disturbing the natural ecosystem when you mow the lawn. So intermediate, though, it's kind of healthy for the ecosystem. It's something to think about. And this is the end of the module.